Hi everyone, Kendall here, and what I have for you today is the final block in our Ode to National Parks sew along, which has been hosted by Pat Sloan at her website ilovetomakequilts.com. As I said, this is the last block for this series, and after this, the Wednesday videos will disappear for a while, but I will still be doing my regular Saturday videos with our Brackman sampler sew along, which is what you can see on the wall behind me. I've decided to continue making the blocks from the Encyclopedia of Pieced Quilt Blocks by Barbara Brackman, and they'll continue on a Saturday from late November. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned so you don't miss a thing. Without much further ado, jump over to Pat's website, download this week's free pattern, come back here, and I'll show you how I do it. For our final block of the Ode to National Park sew along, I have made some changes to the cutting directions because of how I'm choosing to construct the block. Instead of making the 8 half square triangles with the dark fabric for the points of the star, I am going to use the 4 at a time flying geese method to make those instead. It will just eliminate that seam in between the 2 half square triangles. So for that, instead of cutting the squares as listed under light fabric 1, we just need to cut one square that is 7 3/4 inches, and you can see that on the top of my screen now. For the dark fabric, instead of cutting the 4 the size that the pattern indicates, we are cutting them at 4 1/4 inches, and we still do need 4 of those. We're going to start by drawing a diagonal line on the wrong side of all of those dark squares. We'll then line those up diagonally across the large square, 2 of them anyway, maintaining the diagonal line across as if we were doing half square triangles 2 at a time. We'll then take that to the machine and we'll stitch 1/4 inch on each side of that drawn line. With that stitching now complete, I just like to press this first before cutting it in half along that drawn line. We then need to press those smaller triangles up away from the larger triangle. We'll then take our remaining 2 squares with their diagonal line drawn and place them once again on the corner of the large triangle, with that diagonal line dissecting the 2 peaks at the top of our love heart or cat's face. We then once again take that to the machine and stitch 1/4 inch on each side of the drawn line, and then once again give it a quick press first and cut it on that drawn line before pressing these new smaller triangles away from the larger one. We then need to trim these down, and I'll join you back at that point. I'm first going to show you how to trim these down using the Ultimate Flying Geese tool by Creative Grids, which is one of my favourite tools. The chart here on the left hand side that I'm indicating actually tells you what sizes you need to cut, and then the reference line from the tool that you need to use to trim those units down. So we locate that line on the tool first of all, and we place it inside the peak of our flying geese before trimming away the first 2 sides. You then need to rotate both the block and the tool, and then find that same reference line again on the base, line that up on the freshly cut sides, and once again the little triangle inside our peak, and we can trim away those final 2 sides, and we have the perfect size flying geese with minimal waste. As I said before, I choose to do the flying geese instead of the half square triangles because it just eliminates that seam in the middle. You can also trim these down using a standard quilting ruler, which I'll go through right now as well. We know that the unfinished size we need is 6.5 inches. Half of the 6.5 inches is 3 1/4. We also know that we need 1/4 inch above that little point to enable us to sew it into a block. So we line up our 3¼ inch mark and our 1/4 inch guide from our ruler. We can then also look at the base of the large triangle. It is still a straight edge from our original large square. So we can use a reference line on our ruler to ensure that we have that straight. We can then cut off those first 2 sides. We can now line our measurement up of 3½ by 6½ on that freshly cut side, making sure that we still have a 1/4 inch above that point, and you'll notice that the 45-degree line from the ruler will go across that right leg of the geese unit. You can then trim those final 2 sides, and once again, you have perfectly sized flying geese. Using a standard ruler is a little bit more involved, which is why I prefer the Ultimate Flying Geese tool. With these done, we do need to make one more lot of half square triangles, which is with our background fabric and our light number 2. And we'll do those the 2 at a time method, which I've covered in many videos before. I'll join you back once they're all done, and you can just watch through that process. I am using a directional fabric for these half square triangles. To ensure the final result all go the same way, I need to place one of the directional going horizontal and one going vertically. This will give me 4 corner units that will have that directional fabric going in all the same direction. We now just need to make the 4 patch for the center of this block, which is quite self-explanatory. So we'll lay our fabric out as we want them oriented. If you've got directional fabrics, take note of which direction they are going. And then 4 patch construction applies. We'll start by sewing the 2 vertical seams, pressing those to the darker of the 2 fabrics, and do our horizontal seam, and then press that in whichever direction we choose. We now have all the pieces required to lay this block out, and if you just follow the diagram from the pattern, if you're using the half square triangles or my 4 at a time flying geese method, everything will still go together the same. And once these are laid out and we're happy with where everything is, this just goes together as a 9 patch. So we'll start by doing all of our vertical seams and then our horizontal seams. After we've done our vertical seams, we'll press out towards those half square triangle corners, and on that center row we'll press in towards that 4 patch. This will be the path of least resistance and give you the flattest result. Once we've done our horizontal seams, I believe I press towards the center of the block also, but let's see what happens when we get there. Also, as you would have seen from that footage, I did indeed press towards the center of this block, as that would be the path of least resistance. With that now complete, we have finished all 9 blocks of our Ode to National Park sew along, and stay tuned for the reveal of my finished quilt. Alrighty everyone, that's it for our Ode to National Park sew along. Hopefully you've been doing your sashing and everything as you go, and all you need to do now are your border treatments, sandwich, quilt and bind. As you can see on the wall behind me, I do actually have mine fully completed, and I'm going to insert a little video here with some close-ups. That'll do it for our Ode to National Park sew along, and as I said in the beginning, I will see you again on a Wednesday at some future date, but for now, my Saturday videos will continue towards the end of November. Make sure that you have clicked that little subscribe button and turned on the notification bell so that you won't miss a thing. I'd also love if you could like the video and possibly share it with a friend that you think may be interested in what I'm doing here. That's it from me, folks. I'll see you all again real soon. Bye for now.